So just like I was saying, in life, it is like that in life. Sometimes you have that mindset that this is difficult, but until you give it a try before you would really understand if it's difficult or not. Certain individual have said to me, oh, some of my friends told me that cybersecurity is difficult. I said, who is your friend that told you that? That same domain that you think is difficult or that your friend says is difficult, some people are crushing it, right? So difficult is relative, right? Some of the things that might be difficult for Mr. A or Mrs. A could be like, could be like very, very basic, very easy stuff for Mr. B or Mrs. B. That is the way things are generally. So that is why at the beginning of this particular program, we spoke to all of you and we said one of the key elements that is required in this program to ensure that you are able to, derive maximum benefit from it is to make sure that you have an open mind. Open mind. That is the truth. Because the problem that I've seen as well, speaking with some of the members of the Black community, is the fact that you are used to doing certain things, or probably you are used to a particular domain for the past maybe 10, 15, 20 years of your career. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a new country and you are now beginning to reimagine, hey, what can I do? Can I fit into this? And stuff like that. And thankfully, Canada and US, talk about North America, these are environments where you can reinvent yourself. You can reinvent. Today, in our data analytics program, we have medical doctors in our data analytics program. We have a lawyer registered for the cybersecurity program. Lawyer. You can reinvent yourself in this country. So it is very, very important, guys, to have an open mind, be willing to unlearn those things you've learned before, unlearn, relearn, and learn again. That is the beauty of tech, and that is the beauty of tech ecosystem, because it's an ecosystem that there is no dull moments. There's always something to learn. And again, in life, if you want to earn, you must learn. That is the way it goes. Continuous improvement, continuous learning, those are the things that epitomizes tech ecosystem and even life in general. Today is going to be DevOps. We started from January the 12th, just like I mentioned, cybersecurity, AWS cloud computing, data analytics, project management, product management, and so on and so forth. Last week was network administration. On Saturday was network administration. Incredible feedback. So many came back with tangible information in respect to what they think they got to do next. Oh, I've been doing this before. I'm thinking, okay, based on what I'm doing right now, after this, should I go ahead for A+, or should I go ahead for CCNA, or should I go ahead for CISSP? All those were demystified. Participants were able to gain tangible information on the right step, the right strategy, and resources to enable them excel and accelerate their career. Today, we are looking at DevOps. DevOps, there is also DevSecOps. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but we've got an expert today that is going to be doing justice to it. On this particular note, before I call on our program manager to join in, to come in, I just want to, for most of us that have been part of this journey from the very beginning, I just want to see some comment, on the chat box in terms of what you think so far about TRiTECH. You have been part of this, or you've participated in any of the other domains prior to this, and you've gained some insight, great insight, that you think have kind of opened up a new horizon, or a new insight for you, that you are now beginning to think of possibilities where you never thought that there were possibilities before. Let me see on the chat box. I just want to see, just to be very sure that apart from the feedbacks we are getting via emails, I also want to make sure that the folks here listening to me tonight are also, gaining insightful insight, right? Or talking about getting a lot of information that will really enable them to move to the next level of their career. This is my second time on this. Okay, fantastic, Olanlewaju. Yes, and how has it been for you? The first time, how was it? I want to see some comment, guys. Some comment on the chat. As you all know, we want to make sure that everyone is here physically with us or virtually with us. Let me say virtually. I can see some people's face, but of course, everything is virtual right now. Comment, please. Comment, please. I joined on data analytics and it was incredible. Love it. Love it. This is my first session. I decided to join this based on the feedback I got in the email subscription I got from the rest of the Demystify session. Okay, let's keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. Let's get those feedback from you guys. Okay, let's get the feedback. And let's be very sure that, yes, everyone here has really been impacted positively by this particular program. If you, and again, of course, if there's not been any impact, based on your own assessment, we might probably just call it a day. The program manager is right, probably she has some other meeting booked already right after this program. She might even be happy and excited to call this off right now. And everybody, we just call it a day right now. So, but we got to see those comments, guys. Let's see the comment. How can I get the full note on data analytics? We have the recording. Every session has been recorded. And we have everything on our YouTube channel, okay? One of the program team members will post the YouTube channel right now. Feel free to subscribe to it and watch all the other recordings. That will really help you as we continue to, navigate this journey together. This is my first time live, but I am taking time to eat up all the past sessions. I eat, oh boy. Please don't eat everything. I'm happy to be here. I need to get to the crowd as soon as possible. No be small thing. Okay. Christina says, getting so much info that is changing my view of tech and is getting me ready to dive in deeper. I love that. I love that. Okay. Then we have Andy. Okay, we have Chukwebuka. BlackTECH is a blessing, a necessary guide for people like me who are transitioning into the tech domain, wonderful faculties and leadership. I can now make informed decisions based on the exposition so far. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. I love this. And Ikemefuna says, I'm at the threshold in my career in determining what next after project management and product management session was quite insightful. Emanuela, I have been here from day one, and it has been quite enlightening. And it has helped me decide on what to delve into. Lawyer about to turn into a tech guru. Fantastic. You can do it. You can. Hey, join on cybersecurity, been very informative ever since on different routes and avenues to study and venture into AWS, gave a lot insight and some personal interest. I love that. That is from Daniel. And we have Fadeyemi says, this is my first session. Unfortunately, the timing hasn't been favorable for me. I will check the other recordings on you. That is why we recorded everything, because we know, of course, timing might not be favorable for everyone. In view of the fact that we have people joining from different time zones, the recordings are there, okay? YouTube, please give me, okay? The link is already there. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Great feedbacks. On this note, guys, because of time, we want to see how we can start early and possibly wrap up area as well. Let me call upon our program director, to come on board to share just a few cadence with us. Most of you must have already been, used to the cadence anyways, but she's going to touch base on them just at pretty high level, and then, talk about the other things that you guys we'll be wanting to hear, especially the next cohort, because I've got somebody just chat me privately saying, after DevOps, what else do we have? She's going to speak about all those things just in a second. All right, Dr. Oye, please take it away from here.
Thank you so much, Osita. Thank you everyone for coming again and again and again and again. You are not tired because you are committed to making a difference in your career this year, 2022. Our slogan, 2022 must obey. I can see us living out that slogan. It's not enough to chant it, it's not enough to say it, but you should be committed to see it come to pass by putting in the time, the effort to make informed decisions and running with those decisions. We want to have probably TRiTECH in Q4, and people are saying, indeed, 2022 delivered what I expected or beyond my expectation based on what I put in, based on the certifications I did, based on the upskilling I had to do, based on retraining, you know, different routes for different people, depending on the domain that you are in. And from the feedback, I'm excited about what people have been saying, those that have been coming from the beginning, those that joined just last session and they are here again today. So the feedback has been very, very encouraging. I saw some of these comments. I won't mention his name. He's an expert in his field and he's still putting in comments right now. I was surprised when I saw his comment come up because I know him personally and I know how far he has gone in his career in tech, and he's still here. So that says a lot. That says a lot. From our survey on the first day, we see that we cut across different level of expertise in tech, and everybody is here trying to navigate, you know, their career, make better decision. You might be in a particular domain in tech and maybe you've probably seen it all, or you just want a change. TRiTECH is also for you. So for the sake of those that are joining for the first time today, I will just quickly run through the cadence that we are used to. I hope we can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So again, the training is for 3 hours from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll try to finish up on time. And the session is being recorded. For the sake of those who have not been part of it before, you can go on our YouTube channel. The entire 3 hours is recorded, except for the the fellowship after fellowship people, the meeting after meeting people. That's the only part that is cut off. But when it comes to the real content, everything is on record on YouTube. And please, thank you for muting yourself. Even the technical team has done that, so we thank you for that. Please use the hand raise feature for your questions and also use the chat box and put on your camera. I keep saying it, if not for the days of virtual life, if it was in the days of in-person interaction, you won't come for a meeting and leave your face at home now. So give us the privilege of seeing you, of connecting with you, even virtually. Thank you. So like we've said over and over again, it's a free program. Nobody was billed anything to be here because the vision is to see Black professionals, you know, accelerate their career, be in leadership position, be strategically positioned in North America when it comes to career. When they are talking about the top people, the people making things to happen, let it be the Black people. I got a very interesting feedback from someone during the week, and where she works, she's a change manager. She's more into project management, let me put it that way. And she's been telling her boss she wants to revert to remote position, and the boss wouldn't allow. She's also from Nigeria. Our boss supervisor wouldn't allow her because they need her. Being in the office is also strategic. I was so excited that yes, the Black people are doing something. Their impact in the work environment is being seen. And the guy said it, that is the only reason. Your staying in the office is very strategic. Certain things would not work if you work from home. So that's those are the kind of things you want to be hearing in the Black community. Leadership positions, we are there. And today, let me take it one step at a time. Today, when we are talking about committing time into improving yourself, our faculty is living that life. You would soon see what I'm talking about. So the whole idea is to have an open mind. For those that have been coming from the first day, we know you must have seen one or two domains that you're interested in and you're still coming because you want to x-ray the entire domains that we have available and make decisions. You might think it's data analytics, and then you do DevOps today, you see that DevOps is the real thing. You might think it is maybe cybersecurity, and on the day of service now, you're like, oh my God, I've been doing some of these things before now. I can do some certifications to upskill myself and get better opportunities. So you never can tell what else we have for you. So this is domain 7, and it's 5 weeks. I think these are 4th week. Next week would be our 5th week. And we've had so many faculties come talk to us, people with minimum 10 years experience. The number of years of experience we put for faculty was not even up to 10. But by the time we began to headhunt them, we began to get people that are even way beyond our expectation. And the whole idea is to re-engineer our mind. You know, everything starts from the mind. If you believe that you can do it, then you can do it. You're absolutely correct. And if you believe that you cannot do it, there is nothing Osita can say to ginger you, to excite you, to do. You will not be able to do it. So it starts from the mind. And the whole idea of demystifying everything tech is what we've come here to do. And from our feedback, that objective is being achieved. So we want you to take the driver's seat in your decision making in when it comes to career decisions. Nobody knows you as much as you know yourself. You know where you thrive best. You know what excites you. You know what makes you wake up the next day and want to do the job. Like the last session we had on network administration, he even sees it as a way of impacting life. We are talking tech, and he's seeing he wants to save the life of the network and things like that. So you know yourself best. You know what excites you, and then again, the overall objective is to accelerate our career. Our lecture days remain Wednesdays and Saturdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And this is a timeline of all of the courses that we have. We are on day 7, class 7, which is DevOps. And next week's, this Saturday rather, is Salesforce and ServiceNow. It will be delivered by 2 renowned faculties. And after which you have Agile and Scrum, which is going to build on the knowledge that you've gotten from a bit from business analysis and a bit from project management. And then we wrap up the session on February 12th. That February 12th is a 3-pronged day in that we are celebrating Black History Month. We are rounding up TRiTECH and a lot of things happening on February 12th. So please keep the tempo on up until the end of this training. There will be no pause. And let me just go straight to who our faculty is John Kayode Abuse. He has more than 13 years of experience in the tech space, spanning systems, cybersecurity administration and management with cloud, DevOps, SRE, application security, development security operations, and Internet of Things capabilities. He has carried out cloud and DevOps security initiatives, data privacy, technical audits and security framework, industry standards implementations, security operations center as a service solution, and open web application security project, top 10 implementation. He has automated penetration testing and purpose teaming. Join us tonight as it takes us on a journey into the integration of people, technology, and practices that automate and integrate software development and IT operations, the future outlook in the DevOps domain, and career acceleration pathways. His certifications are 38 certifications. I was going to showcase all of that, but then I got exhausted. Or apart from being exhausted, how many slides am I going to run through to present his 38 certifications? So I just put some of them and the logos of most of the other ones. So he is well certified in his domain. He knows the subject matter in and out. You can ask him any question. I'm confident to say that this evening. Any question at all in this domain, and maybe even out of the domain, but please make your questions as related to today's session as possible. That's just to give you an idea of who is made up of. He has all of the experience in North America, even outside of Canada, in this particular domain. And one thing I also find interesting about him is that he loves his home country, Nigeria, and then he loves God. So join me to welcome John Kayode Abuse as he takes on the training tonight. Thank you. John, please. Yeah. John?
John, can you hear me?
I think he's trying to settle down. Let's wait for a minute or two. I see him trying to.
Yeah. It was muted before, but right now it should be fine now.
Ready. Unmute it again, please. He's on mute again.
Yeah, John, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, what about now? Can you hear me?
Perfect,
Yes.
we can.
Yeah, I don't really like this headset that I'm using now, so I was trying to avoid it, but eventually I think that is what we use.
you got to use it, man.
uh, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Oye, Mr. Osita, for having me this evening. Yeah, I saw a lot of questions like, oh, is it possible? Yeah, sometimes, for some of us that we have to bootstrap ourselves, from day one. We have to keep moving because some of us we don't just have it that, from day one. We don't just have it that easy. So we need to do some extra stuff to show the world that it's okay. We can actually do it. So yeah, it's just like that. But some people, they have it maybe a bit easier that they don't have to do that. Yeah.
People like Dr. Oye. that we are born with a silver spoon.
Oh,
or is it a golden spoon?
Amen.
So welcome everybody. So I really want us to have this kind of relaxed minds, tonight. I know it kind of sometimes overwhelming, but you just have to relax your mind and I'm not just going to do it like too technical. I just want you to be able to relate with it. If you can relate with it, then you can think it through. That is my objective tonight. And if we look at it, if you look at what DevOps is all about, I want to look at it from two angles. Like I want us to look at it from that two perspectives. DevOps, in the one sense, is not technical. DevOps in the other side is technical. Why? Because DevOps, initially was a philosophy, or let me say it's a philosophy. It's a way of doing things in a certain way to achieve a certain result. Then for you to be able to get that result, achieved or that work done, you need tools, you need technology, you need processes in place. So that is what makes DevOps technical eventually. And because of the fact that sometimes this technical part of it kind of overshadow the philosophy itself, then what we hear most is the technical side of it. So I have a very long career in system administration and setting up things and consulting and making sure system, connect to each other. And that really kind of, automatically threw me into the DevOps environment. Like a time came that you just have to look for a way of doing it better. So tonight, DevOps is most of the time, even in technical, arena, it's either you are a DevOps administrator, maybe you are doing administration of DevOps, or you are doing the real engineering job. Now, moving back a bit, DevOps is just like a marriage between development and operation. I know some of us must have read a lot of books about DevOps. If you have read the Unicorn Project, the like, you will see the kind of scenario being painted here. So that is all we want to look at today. We just want to look at it. Okay, how do we find ourselves in this kind of environment, and what can we do if we want to plug into it? Now, I added this slide because I want us to give us some background information that what exactly is the story behind DevOps. I could remember when I started like doing DevOps the proper way, I was asked, we were asked to go for a training that all we taught in that place was like a DevOps philosophy. What exactly what do you want to achieve from it, irrespective of the technology you use. So in the history, and if you read the history of DevOps very well, you see that DevOps like emanated from the Lean movement, the Agile Manifesto, the Agile Infrastructure and Velocity movement, the Continuous Delivery movement, and the Toyota Kata. A lot of us that did maybe management or MBA or what have you, we've learned about all these things. But there are two things here tonight I want us to really hold high. And that is what we call the Lean movement. And for those of us that have that kind of business background, we know that what the Lean movement was all about value stream mapping. How do we get value? How soon can we get value? I will tell you reasons why you have to think this way. Reasons, like experiential reasons, why you have to think this way. That's okay. Why do you have to think? So then the next thing is that I want you to look at the Agile Manifesto. If you look at that movement as well, these are the movement in manufacturing and in software development and technology that kind of change the way things are done. Let me give you a simple scenario. There is a place I work here in Canada. I was in a team that what we do in that team is that whenever there is a major feature developed in our platform, it's a banking environment. My team, we are like 4, we are the one that release it into production. So how do we do that? When these features are developed, the developers push it to us, then we test it in QA system, in a lot of systems. So after that, by the time we are sure that this thing works, the QA will work, but we are the one that deploy into the QA and QA test, and we can confirm with the QA that everything works at your end, it works at our end. Then we let our team lead aware of that. And the next thing they do is that they schedule a deployment cycle, like they open a window that, okay, we're going to have in like a window of deployment, so did. Now, when I look at that process, we do deploy. I'm not talking about too far long. We do deploy once in a month. That shows that if any deployment is coming up, we deploy it once in a month. And that would be night stuff. Everyone comes on bridge around 12 midnight. We get connected everywhere you are. And we do this deployment between the hour of 12 to maybe like 2 expected in the night, finish it. Sometimes it doesn't go well. And that is why you see that sometimes your banking application misbehaves in the night because there is an upgrade or new feature being released. So these are the things that happen because we are releasing to production and we want to make sure we finish up, clean up the environment, even maybe before 5 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes we have situations whereby by 6, 7 in the morning, we still have issues and we still have to deal with it. So organizations are looking for a way to do it better. They don't want that disruption. They don't want people to know that there is a deployment going on. They don't want to see developers and maybe, security guys or operation guys having some kind of wars around them. They want a collaborative environment where these people can work together and deliver business value, not just technology. No business is interested in technology. The only reason why they're interested in it is because it powers the very thing they are looking for, that value they want to get to customers. And how does that value make sense to them? Is the ability to get to market very fast. That is that. So these are the movement. So number 1 is value, stream mapping. Number 2 is frequency of deployment. That is the Lean movement and the Agile movement. Then we now talk about, I was talking about organizations looking for a better way of doing things. Like in Etsy, Shopify, they do things faster than any other person. Even when people consider the same idea at the same time, you discover that these people get to market in terms of technology, how they use to power, their businesses and stuff like that. You'll be wondering, how do they do it? How is it possible that maybe last week maybe there was a feedback from a customer that what about you having this kind of features or or functionality in your platform, and this week is already live. How do you do it? These are the things. It's a better way of doing things, so to say. So in the better way of doing things, we have the 3 ways. Number 1 is the principle of flow. No barrier, no building of wall, no gatekeeping. We just want to make sure that things work, the flow is smooth and things get the way it's supposed to go. How do we achieve that? Number 2 is the principle of feedback. Okay, we do this. People give us feedback. We say, okay, what do we do? The feedback maybe is not good enough. We can quickly iterate and say, okay, we change it. We listen and we tailor it to what people say they want, customers say they want. Then the 3rd one is the principle of continuous learning and experimentation. Now, this is the one I love most. You see, the world we are living in is so fast that nobody is sure of anything, even in the business world. You are not sure of anything. Most of the business models they use maybe 10 years ago, they don't work anymore. That is why you see that old organizations, they find it very difficult to initiate a digital transformation in the organization because they are so buried in what they used to do. Business model they learn in Harvard, they learn maybe somewhere and it has worked. But these days it doesn't just work. And that's why you see new organizations, small companies, coming up within 5 years, having capital base of 5 billion or whatever. You'll be thinking, how did they do it? The good thing about this particular way is that you continue to experiment. You learn from it. And if there is anything that is not working, you change it very quickly. And by the time you have like 3 or 4 iterations, you can be sure that one of them will hit the market. This is the kind of thing that DevOps brings. These are the very fundamental things that give birth to DevOps. And that is why DevOps is not just being technical alone. You have to be able to understand what exactly DevOps is delivering into your organization. And for business people, even when you want to suggest or maybe you want to advise on digital transformation, you have to understand these basic things. Be able to explain it, the value they will get from it in a business terms that those executives will listen to, it will resonate with them, and they will say, okay, let's go, let's do it. So that is that. Then the value stream I was talking about. Here, I just want us to look at the lead time and the process time. The lead time is the time that the request is made until the job is completed. And the process time is when the actual work is put into it and the value or the output is seen. Okay, let me give you an example. Maybe, let's look at maybe somebody who is a security guy. Maybe they just reported a vulnerability in your platform. Maybe you are working at Shopify or what have you, or Etsy or Twitter. And somebody, an external researcher, send an email that's, okay, I could find this vulnerability on your website. And this vulnerability could lead to maybe an hijack or maybe something that could lead to maybe denial of service. Now, if you have to wait 1 month, your process have to take you 1 month to fix that. That is not a good enough lead time. But if you have a process in place that makes from that point of request to the point of completion very shortened, that makes you more agile, that makes you more secure, and that makes you a kind of more trusted in the market. So Now, moving forward now, I said DevOps is cultural practices followed by development teams and operation teams. And why do they do that? Because they want to achieve a common goal. They want to do that. Now, what are the pillars of DevOps? DevOps revolve around what we call culture. If you see an organization whereby they practice DevOps practices, one of the things they lay emphasis upon is culture. They will tell you, this is the kind of culture we have here. For those of people that are into security, security is one of the things that the major thing security God does is to gatekeep. But when you move away from traditional security, what you do is to imbibe the culture of collaboration. And how do you do that without negating the standard of security? Is by ensuring that you imbibe that culture in such a way that you still achieve your security practices, best practices, and you still work with other people. So people, automation, measurement, these are the things. How do we, so another thing is automation. In DevOps, we don't want to do things, over and over manually, and no, we want to see how best we can automate those things that we repeatedly do. So then measurement, how do we measure the kind of value, the kind of, things that what we do brings to the table? So if you look at the other side from this, we see like the DevOps lifecycle, like, you plan, you create, you verify, you package, you release, you configure, you monitor. If you look at it very well, you see that the development team is mostly concerned with the planning, the create, the verify, and the packaging. The operation team too, release, configure, monitor. But there are two things here that the two of them have to do together. They have to do plan, release, and package together. So it's like three. It's very important that they do this together. It's very important. Okay, moving away from that. Now, this is where it got very, very weird. This is area I don't want you to get panic about. Now, what I have here as DevOps tools is not exhaustive. And we have more that are coming in, months, year in and year out. But there are ones that are very fundamental. There are ones that are very fundamental. These are the ones I want to take us through tonight. But what I want to tell you is that DevOps tools are many. People can just build a tool tomorrow. They will tell you it does this for your DevOps maybe organization. And if you find it very useful, that it can meet a need, that is why we do evaluation. And that is why, if you look at it from the beginning, when I started this, I told you about like continuous learning. Is a thing that not just learning about the business, even for people that are implementing it, you keep learning the tools, you keep learning the process, you keep learning the technology. It's not that difficult. It's just tools, right? It's just tools. So what do they get? What do organizations get from, doing a digital transformation, maybe through DevOps or what have you? They reduce cost. Research have shown that they can reduce their cost by 15 to 25% of the IT cost. Like what the IT cost, they can reduce it. Because for instance, if I want to provision, let me say 20 servers in those days, I can tell you that a system administration might not be able to provision it for almost a month, like configurations, provisioning configuration, and making it available. It might take just single organization maybe like 1 month to do that. But today, if it takes him like maybe 2 weeks to write the script to do the automation, by the time after 2 weeks, he just hits the button. He can create maybe thousands of servers. Just hit the button and go to bed and come back the next morning and say, wow, we got 1,000 provisioned. They say, yes, okay, we keep moving. Because that has been able to help them to reduce the cost of getting more and more people into doing that. Now, quality. It has increased the quality of service and technology by 50 to 70%. With DevOps, there is very, very high level that you won't get error. That those things you do, they are clean, they will work the way it's supposed to work. They won't be like maybe human error or something. So they achieve that. Then the other thing is that agility, up to 90% reduction in provision and deployment time. I think I've explained that. So that shows that business objectives are met. Digital transformation. This is what executive wants. These are the kind of information they want. They want to say, okay, we can cut costs, we can be available, in a very short while, and we can reduce all those wastages. So these are the things that organizations get from it. Who can attend this class? Well, IT and business management people can attend. Developers, architects, administrators, whoever, integrators. This list is not exhaustive. You can do some research and see that, okay, I can attend this, I can do this, I can do that. Then let's look at the market. Now, before I, speak on this map, this data we have here, there is something I noticed in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. Now, during the course of my career, I've come to realize that organizations that are not even in the first place thinking of, doing a kind of digital transformation that will involve DevOps skills, they are doing that. Because it's becoming difficult for them to manage infrastructure that will meet business needs and requirements the old way. So it's like you just have to do it. And that is why you see that this skill set is on the increase every day. Whether you are a data center, technician, whether you are a developer, maybe you are a network administrator, maybe you are everything, you discover that people want to ensure that things are automated, things are delivered faster, things are code are shipped, in the best, cleanest state, without too much or repetitive, human intervention. The human being will be the one to write it, but it makes life more easier for you. If I take maybe a week to write some code, clean code, test it, and it's fine, and I can use it, make my life easier for the next maybe 3 or 4 months, or even after 4 months, if I want to modify it, it's just go to the code, modify it, and run it again. And that's it. That's it. So if you look at it here, you can see how this skill set has been increasing since 2015. And look at what is going up to in 2026, 2024, 2022. And the market, the global development operation, that is DevOps market size, stood at that. These are the values that I was able to lay my hands upon. And it's just coming up, because the only organizations that are able to successfully, implement these things, they are the new startups, companies that maybe they just get into market not quite long, and they are very, very angry. Let me use that word. Except Twitter, Etsy. These are Google. These are the core guys that implement, DevOps. But aside them, those traditional organizations, banking, financial, or health sector, they are finding it very difficult to move. Now, let me now, backtrack a bit. I gave you a background information the last time that, okay, I have worked in an environment whereby we do deployment once in a month, and we do it in the night, and maybe somehow weekends. We are very conscious to make sure that we don't disrupt the services of the customers. And if peradventure things don't go right, I'm telling you, if things go beyond maybe 30 minutes out of windows that we schedule, the VP IT will have to be calling me, or be on my neck, or join the bridge. And if after 1 hour things doesn't work, maybe the vice president of the organization is joining the bridge. You can see how much this prayer is coming now. People will be asking, what is going on? It's almost 6 o'clock. Top management that doesn't even have anything to do with technology, they start joining to ask and to put pressure on your bosses and stuff like that. But with this skill set we are talking about here, I have also worked in an organization whereby we deploy to our production every 30 minutes. Dr. Oyi, what do you think about that? When you have the development pipeline is coming every 30 minutes. That shows that you have new features released into your platform every 30 minutes. And if people get it and the users feel like, okay, we don't want it, we revert it back without losing our sleep, without waking up in the night and try to. That is the kind of environment where people want to work. Engineers, developers. That is the kind of thing they want. Not that somebody will be waking them up in the middle of the night that's okay, your code is not running or stuff like that. No. So that is why digital transformation or the future belongs to this piece of technology. This philosophy, this movement of getting things done the better way, looking for a better way of doing it, tools, whatever it is. Then this is the good side of it that maybe it should be Mr. Osita that should talk about this because it's money. I'm not really good with financial numbers, but we're trying. So basically, DevOps engineers with 2 to 4 years of experience, that is what they earn, 90, 89, thereabout. And you see the senior DevOps engineers, you see what they earn. And if you look at lead developers too, engineer, you see what they earn there. So these are just like an average, stores. I know people that are earning 120, 150 and 200 as well, as DevOps engineers. So they are. So now, if you look at the downside, the down part of this slide, you will see integrators, automation engineer, DevOps architect. These are, some roles that organizations have coined out for people that are filling these positions in their organization. Like, okay, DevOps engineer, DevOps architect, or what have you. And some people, they might not have that DevOps as part of their role, their title, but what they do basically is the job of a DevOps engineer or what have you. So I want to believe the pay, look at the mid-level DevOps engineer, there is good enough. It's good enough. It's good enough. It's something good, but this is just average. It's not the upper limit. It's an average. Yeah, it's an average of what you can get. How to plug into this? How do I become a DevOps engineer or DevOps administrator? Number one thing is start cross-training now. You see, one of the things that maybe makes people feel like, oh, is it not too difficult? Is like the kind of cross-section of knowledge that sometimes it's required. But it's not always like that. For instance, in my team, I have people that are very good with AWS. So when they come on board as a DevOps engineer, we allow them to deal with AWS issues. We have people that are very good with Ansible. When they come on board, we allow them to deal with Ansible. But the reason why everybody must know a little piece of the other technology is that they are kind of interwoven. At the point they meet. So start cross-training now. Then the other one is build the skills in the job you have for the job you want. Now you might be doing something right now. You can build a skill that's okay. This is where I am projecting myself to be. You might be a network administrator now, and you think like, okay, I want to become a DevOps engineer maybe in the next 6 months. Then begin to build DevOps skills towards that level. Okay. Then automation. Prove you can do things done with little time. Like how there's some script that you can just write maybe 2 or 3 lines, test it, and it can do a lot for you. Instead of you clicking through, pages and making errors, mistakes, and stuff like that. No. So develop your personal brand with community involvement. Like we have NIPCA, we have BlackTECH, we have, just develop that brand. That's okay, you can do this. You don't know. People can just come in. Okay, I have this position. Can you do it? It could be entry level sometimes. I've seen people that get to some organization that they come at as an entry level developer or maybe DevOps engineer 1, and after like a year, they move to another organization, and they move as a senior DevOps engineer, because already within this space of 1 year, they were able to gain experience, do a lot of things, equip themselves with what they do in their current role, and they move up. So demonstrate curiosity and empathy. That is one thing about DevOps environment. We don't blame people. We don't say why. We just make sure that things keep moving. So the empathy is very important, and your curiosity is like it's what drives you to learn. Oh, this thing is not working. How does it work? Somebody was talking to me today, said a lot of PCC. I said, don't worry, just take your time. By the time you have a task, you will learn it. You have this key, but you just have to like, do it in such a way that it will be able to solve this problem. Okay, now we are moving up, gradually, and then we talk about what are the soft skills you need as a DevOps engineer. You need system thinking. You should be able to think through systems. Yeah, that is very important. This doesn't, if you are somebody that knows how to collect requirements and you know how things work together, you can think it through, and you'll be able to say, okay, this is the workflow I think we should follow. Then that is when you are able to draw it and have a kind of workflow. That is when you begin to think about the technology that can put your workflow, in action. Amplify feedback. I told us before now, feedback loop is very, very important. The reason is this. This is more or less like experimentation. So as the feedbacks are coming, we have to amplify it. Either ways, in such a way that it will add to our value stream. Then continuous experimentation. We value outcomes over output. No blame culture. I said that before now. We don't blame. We empathize. We appreciate that, okay, you've made an effort. You can do it. These are the soft skills that people think you don't need, but they are very, very important. I've seen it firsthand. I have to learn it myself. The way I maybe I relate to my personal life, I don't dare relate like that in my organization. I make sure that it's okay. I don't blame. You don't blame people, even when people like maybe they do something dumb. You don't blame them. You don't blame them. You have to be very, very careful, because what you think is a mistake might not be a mistake, because we don't want to build a culture of rigidity. Why people don't accept, like new way of doing things. So if we keep picking and try to blame everybody, people will hold back innovation. And those are those things we don't want in DevOps culture. Those are the things that happens in the traditional environment. We want people to be able to express themselves, innovate, think about a new way, better way of doing things, experiment with it. If it works, it becomes a standard or a module. If it doesn't work, we get it back to the loop, we do it better in a very short time. So technical skills now. Foundational IT skills, very, very important. If you have a very good knowledge about virtualization and containerization, it's good. But if you don't have, it's something you can learn. Then we talk about infrastructure as code. This is one of the major components of DevOps engineer skill set. Yes, infrastructure as code. Then number 2 is continuous integration and continuous delivery. We want to ensure that our integration, like in some of us are working on organizations whereby you have like maybe 50 development teams, 50, some hundreds development teams. Maybe they are teams of 5 engineers. They develop, different. They are been working on different projects. So, for instance, if team A, work on a particular feature and push it upstream, and team B is working on another feature, push it upstream, the two must be able to work together seamlessly. That is what we call continuous integration. It must not be that, okay, this one is not working. No, it should be able to build. The build server should be able to build this thing and say, okay, this is it, and it's running. And if it passed through all our tests, then it should be able to say, okay, let's get it down to delivery and get it to the production server, and it's live. And how does these things, come how can we achieve them? When it comes to the underlying infrastructure, is cloud. I am not saying that we cannot achieve this in a premise environment, in a prem environment. We can do that. We can achieve the same thing. But most organizations are running their infrastructure and their workload in cloud today. And my experience shows that when you have DevOps, your DevOps organization or infrastructure running in the cloud, your code base, your CI/CD pipeline, everything, going to DevOps, going to cloud, it makes life easier. In fact, if you have ever run containerization like Kubernetes works more seamlessly with Google Cloud, very seamlessly with Google Cloud. I'm not saying it doesn't work with other cloud providers. It does, but I find that very interesting. So now, coming back to BlackTECH, how do we want to achieve this? How do we want to ensure that people can easily, plug into these programs and do it without necessarily, being pressured, or is something that they cannot do? No. We look at it because it's a combination of tools. The tools we have here, they are very fundamental. So that is why we say, okay, our DevOps classes will be, split or maybe broken into 2. We have DevOps 1 and DevOps 2. Okay, now on DevOps 1, what we do, we look at cloud fundamentals, what is those things that you need to know about cloud, how to plug things in. Then another important thing you need to learn is Linux fundamentals, because most of these technologies are open source. They are essential component or project that were developed by open source community. So Linux is very, very fundamental to that. So we talk about the code repository like Git or GitHub. We'll be using GitHub because I think it's more open. Everybody use that. Then we talk about the build server like Jenkins. That is where we do our build. And we talk about our containerization infrastructure, which is Docker. Docker is when, let me backtrack a bit. 2007, I started using, was it 2007 or 2008? I started using virtualization. I used to have this friend that was the first time I saw it. He brought it and we started using doing some things that our system doesn't allow us to do. So we virtualize, we install, because I use Linux a lot. So we install Linux on it and we ensure that it's okay. If we do anything and our system becomes so funny or corrupt, we just remove, that virtual machine and we install another one. So it makes life easier, right? So, but if you look at that, you see that it has some kind of layered abstraction that consume a lot of resources that make us, waste resources even when we don't need it. But that's the way the technology was built. But if you look at Docker technology these days, you only need to package what you need to do, what you need it for. And the footprint is smaller, it's light, and it makes workload to run faster, better, better than virtualization even. And it makes virtualization more useful because you can actually have a virtual server that are running, let me say, hundreds of Docker containers, hundreds, thousands of Docker containers. It's okay. So that is that. And in those days, it's can't possible. By the time you install just one OS on it, it's just one OS. But this one, now you can have hundreds in that. So that is what you will learn in DevOps 1. So for DevOps 2, we go into Ansible, Terraform, Kubernetes, and AWS Cloud. Now, let me talk to you about Ansible. Ansible is, for me, it's used for provisioning applications. For instance, I want to install an application and I don't want to, click through the pages like, okay, click on this, click on that, click on that. I don't want to do that. I can script it with low-level scripting. Anybody can do it. Even 14-year-olds can do it. Just for you to sit down and know how the script works. So you can just sit down, write script. I don't want to use the word script. It's not programming. It's just like, I don't know the kind of low-level language I can use for it, but just something that you can just, okay, this is this, format this, and that will help you to install that application. Either it's network application, either it's ERP, either is whatever it is, whatever the application is, whether it's security, applications or what have you. So it helps you to automate installation or provisioning of applications, apps generally. Then when you talk about Terraform is more like infrastructure, your operating system, your Windows server, your Linux server. It helps you to provision EC2 instance, Google instance. It helps you to do this without you clicking through and without you have to be waiting. Just write the script, run it, boom, you have it provisioned. You have it. So by the time you start, I might not be able to paint a physical scenario, but I want you to be able to see the kind of picture I'm painting that we need these tools to ensure that we can do things faster, better, iteratively, and have a complete set of value in a very short timeline. So, and the AWS Cloud is We have a course here at BlackTECH that deals with that. So when we are doing all these things, then we learn AWS cloud as well. And you can see some of the certifications that if you go through the trainings, you can choose to write any of these certifications, because the training will cover those ones, you know, very solidly. I can assure you that. Ansible, Terraform, Kubernetes, and Solution Architect from AWS. Okay. Now, what is your day? What will it look like, you know, if you are a DevOps engineer? Maybe I just picked this from my personal experience. Yeah, if your organization is starting out new in this journey, yeah, you will be doing a lot of project meeting, you know, and if they have been there, we do retros, maybe once in a week. Some we do every morning, and you have to gather requirements, or maybe at all these meetings, to know what exactly they want. Okay, we want this to be provisioned. We want this to be provisioned. The function of a developer is just to write code. Your own function as a DevOps engineer or DevOps organization is to get that code, you know, shipped. They shipped to you, and you get it deployed. So you are more or less like a service organization within your organization. Everybody will just be pushing it to you, and you must make sure that the necessary infrastructure is provisioned. The necessary thing is done to ensure that these codes that they are written and they are shipped upstream are made available, released as at when it's supposed to be released, and they are functioning well. And if there is any issue that comes maybe along the way, you know where exactly is the issue coming from. If it's a developer or a project that is having that issue, you circle back. The process has the ability to circle back to the real person or the team that is working on it, and say, hey, this your code is having this, without necessarily, you know, stopping the workflow or making the organization to stand still. No, it's just that piece, that area that is having issue, and that person will fix it and he will push it back again. That is how it works. So what you'll be doing is to stand up resources using Terraform and Ansible or other scripting languages. Then one of those things you do is to start, pause, or, you know, or stop pipelines. These things, we have a lot of pipelines that as developers are building, you know, feature branches, you know, yeah. So sometimes you have to pause the master, you have to start it if you are doing a continuous delivery, and then you troubleshoot tickets. That's what we call backlog, like grooming. But these are at least the fundamental things you're expected to do every day. Okay. Do I still have some time, Dr. Yi?
Yes, you do have about 20 minutes.
Okay. So I just want, because the only thing we have now is to answer questions, but I just want us to, I don't know if I can do a quick lab. Don't worry, it's not going to, Mr. Osita, don't worry, it's not going to break anything.
Please go ahead.
So let me see if I can catch this up here. Okay. Can you see my AWS screen, or I should share it?
Yes, you can see.
Okay, good. So let's look at this. I know a lot of us knows about it, just for people that maybe we are new. I just want to give us a feel of what code we can do with our code. You understand my point? So if you look at this code here, if you look at my blast screen, there is no magic about that. It's just okay. If you look at my code from here to here, it's kind of like maybe somebody's just typing like 1 is equals to 2, 1 is equal to 2, 2 is equal to 4, stuff like that. So it's not difficult. But if you look at it, you can see what I'm saying is that it should connect to AWS on a region of US West 2 and create VPC. You know, give you some tag, create maybe subnet. So what I just see here is to create VPC and subnet. Now, for those of us that have, you know, little background in networking, I'm just trying to piggyback on my friend that did the last, you know, networking class. I really love that. I did like this to my screen, watching the whole thing. So if we look at this, if you look at my AWS environment now, network, I mean, VPC is a network. In the traditional way, let me say traditional environment, when you build up your infrastructure, one of the things you build is a network. But when you move to the cloud, we don't have a physical network that we build anymore. What we do is that we set up VPC, virtual private connect. You build. So when you build it, that is like a segment of your network. Like, okay, you have this network, you have another network. I don't want to use the word net segment. It's a network on its own. And you can build another network. And you can join these two networks together. So now, having a VPC, which is a network, another one, which is another network, within every VPC, which is a network, you can have subnets. Here, if you look at my AWS environment, I only have one VPC here, right? So I think my internet is very slow. Come on. Okay, if you look at it here, I am in West 2, which is Oregon, and I have only one. I think this is default VPC. I only have one. And if you look at this VPC, if I explore it and I come to subnets, you can see that it has 4 subnets. That shows that these are like 4 subnets under that VPC. That shows that that network called VPC is divided into 4 subnetworks. So you can say some of your subnet is private. You can say some is public. If, for instance, I want to deploy a web server that everybody will be accessing, I will deploy it. I may deploy it, or let me say ordinarily, except if something changed, I will deploy it in my public subnet, because the public subnet is the subnet that everybody can access. But my database, where the data resides, I will deploy it in the private subnet. But mind you, every data that comes in from users to the application server or web server will eventually end up in the database, which is residing in the private subnet. So how does this data pass from the public, subnet to the private? Is the job of the network administrator or system administrator to ensure that, okay, the web servers can do that, but everybody that is connected from outside, from the internet, can only stop at web server. Now, these are the traditional things we do. Network guys, server guys. But today, it has become like everybody must know like little thing about this thing. So if I have this done, and I want to create, let's assume this is a default stuff, but I want to create my own. I have this code written. I just tested it before I came on board because I don't want to, okay. So now I have this code. I've done some configuration anyway, but just to show you, if I come here and I say, I wrote this code in Terraform. If I say Terraform apply, is my screen big enough for you to see it? Because
yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay.
If you can zoom out a little.
I'm not sure
it's
because
possible.
I think okay. Okay, you see now, it's just telling me that, hey, John, I will be doing this, that, these are the things it wants to, it's talking about the tenancy, it's talking about the routing table that it's going to create. And it's asking me, are you sure you want to create this? And I will just say, okay, yes, I'm sure. So it's creating it. Okay, it tells me that applied complete. Resources, it tells me that 4 resources are provisioned. That, okay, 0 was destroyed, 0 was added, but 4 was provisioned. Now, if I come back here and I go back to my VPC, okay, good. How many VPC do we have now? We have 3. Yes. This was the default one that we have there. But now I have created additional 2. I did not, if I want to go through this here and create VPC, I have to click like maybe 4 or 5, go through a lot of, this and type and all this kind of thing. But I can just do that. And if I click on any one of these, I will see how you can see information about it. And if I go to the subnet, I will see the subnet under this. These are the 4 subnets under the default one, but these ones, they are the 2 subnets under the 2 VPCs. So if you look at it, it's a kind of very easy life. I work in an environment whereby we even make it more complicated than this. Like we do a lot of stuff. We module a lot of things that we just want to make sure that things are moving very fast. Very fast, because developers are very, very impatient. I'm sorry for every developers that are in the house. I'm sorry. And I understand. Because that is why they are hired. So if you look at what I've done here, for instance, let me give you a simple scenario. When I started using AWS and Azure or what have you, I used to leave my resources running and my credit card will be charged. We all have this account. We spin up resources, and maybe that day we were so, we just go to bed, and the next day we forget, and the next day we forget. And AWS keep accruing, and we are not using it. So what I do these days is that I have a script for the resources I use often. I create it like this way. If it's EC2 instance, I just have them created. And when I'm going to bed, even when I'm weak, I am not weak too much that I cannot just say Terraform destroy. I just hit it. And it will destroy every resources that I have provisioned. Thereby, I am able to escape that resources. I'm able to escape that chance of AWS or Google or what have you. It tells me this is what it's going to do. And I say, yes, go ahead and destroy it. So it saved me okay, maybe I'm going to leave resources running and without using it, and I get charged and stuff like that. And if I move back here now and I refresh, let me refresh. The lag is kind of... you can see it's back to 4, the subnet. And if I go back to the VPC, it's back to 1. Without me trying to, check every individual, because there are chances that you will miss something, maybe something. By the time your infrastructure keep growing, you will miss something manually. But by doing this, check your code, do plan, you see what you want, then do apply, use it. If you are not using it, you destroy it, and you save yourself money. So this is a simple, what do I call it? A simple lab I can do today. And with that, I come to the end of this session, and you can take it away for questions. I am available to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. A lot of questions have been coming into the chat box, and they want to know if they are going to code or not. I hope after seeing the scripts, you don't change your mind about DevOps. For those that are asking about coding, they also wanted to see, someone says, show us a screenshot of a script, and you already did that by going live
Oh,
to
that's good.
demonstrate that. So yeah, a lot of thank you so much for, you know, oh, okay, for this session. They are beginning to raise their hands. So let me just take, there's a number of questions in the chat box. I'll take them and
Okay.
also allow people to ask their questions. So Amy, right after the questions, you can ask yours, but let me read out these ones.
Okay.
Someone said, can a QA transition into DevOps, and is ITIL certification useful for DevOps?
Yes, I will say that, because if you look at the background information I gave at the beginning of like giving a kind of theoretical knowledge, you see that your IT processes has a lot of, you know, a lot of contribution, like value that you can derive from those processes on how you can tailor your DevOps, you know, organization or career. So I believe IT should be an added advantage of you knowing what's supposed to be done, improving processes. And the only thing you will add on the other side is the technology. I told people you don't need to be super. That is why we employ, you know, DevOps 1, Engineer 1, Engineer 2, or maybe entry-level DevOps guy or intermediate or senior. That is why we do that. And for Q&A or QA, I believe that if you understand the process of DevOps and the tools used, at least to a certain level, it will make you more marketable. And at least when you are on the job, you will not be constantly living on an edge. Like, oh, what do they do? I don't understand it. Then you'll be able to like integrate properly with DevOps. You speak the language of developers, you speak the language of operations. And I think it will make your life more easier when you can relate with this. I don't know if that answers the question.
I hope it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Amy, let me take one more so that you can have all the time to ask your question. Do we need to know how to code as a developer, as a DevOps engineer? Sorry.
No. Because this is not coding. This is just, you know, we want to be sincere with you here. DevOps is not a strict coding, it's just script. Like, don't see what you see is something you can learn maybe within a week or two. Yeah. You see, let me tell you one thing. I don't know, Dr. Oye, okay. I started training as an IT instructor since 2018. It was what I did for a very long time. And I understand the need when we are doing a career talk like this for people to know what we are going into. And there is also need for me not to put fear in you. If it is coding, I will tell you straight away that it's coding. But if it is, I want to believe that Terraform and Ansible, which is the most used scripting stuff we use in DevOps, they are not as difficult as 50% of Python.
Okay. That's good to know.
Maybe even 20%. And people still do, a lot of people here that are doing data analysis, they still do Python. Sure. So because for me, it means this thing is like, okay, it's more or less like, I don't know what developer call it, is it TypeScript or what? Just like A equals B, C equals D. And let me now tell you something that I want to say the last time before, but let me say it now. You see, all these things I'm doing, Terraform has made modules modules, as in most of organizations that are now building softwares, they will build the Terraform module to deploy the software. And when they are selling it to you, they will give you the module. Just go and copy it and paste it.
I think that makes life much more easier.
So the way
Okay.
you just say, okay, this is the Terraform module, this is this, you can use to deploy it. So it's just, and if you look at AWS very well, there is a tool in AWS too that can provision virtually every AWS services. You understand me now? So it's not that way. Something that I think is difficult. No, because now I just talk about Terraform. What about build server? What about GitHub? That doesn't even require programming. It's just for you to know how to hook it up and how to interact with it. You understand my point now? What about so what about AWS itself that you can click through? There are a lot of things in AWS that you would rather enable, services that you would rather enable by just clicking through rather than, automating them. But there is one thing I just have to let you know tonight, that those things, that Terraform and Ansible, they are kind of things that we would like to let you know that it happens, and it's very core to it, but not difficult. And most of the time, they are already automated. Like, let me use the word automated because they make it available. Thousands, hundreds available online. Modules that you can just copy and use. So what we do here is just to teach you how it works and how, so that when you are reading through it, you know what the code is doing. That is just that. And I can tell people it's not that difficult. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Don't get discouraged and think it's not possible. But at least there's something that everybody can identify with in DevOps. The culture of the no blame culture is something that is important to some people to thrive in the workplace. So this is one domain that has made that very, very clear. And I'm sure there are other domains too that adopt the same philosophy. So we'll go straight on to Annie. I hope I called your name correctly. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to ask this question. It's Annie, but that's fine.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask, based on my research, I've done a lot of research. After finishing, once one is done with this training, checking job postings online, LinkedIn, entry-level jobs, what you see there are years of experience. So how does one break into that? How do you get into that space if even the entry-level jobs require years of experience? That's the first question. Then the second question, there were some certification badges which you highlighted on your slides. Are those badges, are we going to be coached to take those certification exams? Are there discount codes that are associated with BlackTECH writing those certification exams? And lastly, you also talked about, when you were talking about getting into DevOps, your examples were people with IT background. What about those of us that have no IT background?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Amy. I mean, Miss Amy. Okay, good. Let me take it one after the other. Number one is that maybe I should flip it, and because I don't want this to slip by, Okay, now who can attend, like IT and business management? Like the first, box here is not people that maybe they are technically oriented. They are IT and business management people. Maybe people that do business analysis, maybe people that do IT project management, maybe people that they don't necessarily, even CTOs, like maybe CEOs. I know my CEO knows a lot about DevOps and he's not a technical person because he works with these engineers. He tries to understand what exactly they do. And if you look at it here, I talk about stakeholders. I talk about administrators. Most of these people, they are not technical people. They are people that they work at one level or the other within the organization chain, and they need this skill. They just need that. Now, moving away from that, then the other question is the fact that what about the years of experience that people claim? Okay. Now, then they talk about certification. I'll put the two questions together. One of the reasons why I pursue certification and I have a lot of certification is this. It might not apply to any other person, but it applies to me. You see, certification makes me to stand on my learning schedule. Because sometimes what I do is that I take my money and I register for an exam, maybe 3 months up, and that, because I don't want to lose that money, that makes me force myself. Because if I am not using a tool in my current workplace, and I am not committing my money to it, and I'm saying I want to learn it, there's possibility that I will not learn it. I'll be watching Netflix. That is for me, that is my own life. I'll be thinking, oh, when we get there, but immediately I put my money, it makes me like, I don't want to lose that money. I have to read, I have to research. That is number one reason. So it makes me to know that topic and read and do lab, number one. Then number two is that certification over the years helps me to learn a particular product end to end. There is possibility that when you learn something, you can just handpick some, some things that maybe appeals to you. And it's, for me, my experience is that it leaves me with a disjointed, like, I know something, I'm not sure, I don't know it because I did not learn it end to end. I just pick some topics and I learn it. So certification helps me to have a kind of end to end knowledge about a technology or a tool. That is the second reason why I do it. Then the third one is that it helps me to do hands-on. Now, talking about the years of experience, I happens to hire people too, and I conduct interview. So when you come to my table, although recruiters or what have you, they might want to years of experience. But if I have been able to do some labs using Terraform and Ansible, and I do successfully maybe to provision application or provision infrastructure, and I can do it anytime, I can go ahead and claim it as maybe a year or two experience in my resume. And when you come on board and we ask you to do that, and you do that, nobody, because at one point or the other, we all learn this thing, we all put our hands into it, we all get our hands dirty, and we can sit down and say, I can do this thing. And we go out there, we do it, and it works. So what I'm saying is that you will have the years of experience. If you do your hands-on, you know the process, the end-to-end process, and you know the technology, and you can say, okay, by this, I can claim 2 years. At least we start with 2 years, and you'll be fine. If you claim 3 years, 4 years, and you go for interviews, you will see that you'll be having difficulties in answering some questions. But if you claim 2 years, maybe junior level or intermediate, you get down there, okay, this is my experience, and you do it. And let me tell you one thing about DevOps. When people come around, we don't test them on tools, except if the hiring manager maybe it's not a technical person. Because we know that the tools will always change. 2 things we test you on is that what you say you know now. And then the 2 is the culture. So if you can meet the 2, we tell you, okay, don't worry. We give it a pass and it comes on board. We just tell you, okay, you can learn this tool. We have resources. Organizations have resources that you can use to do your job. 6 months on the job, you'll be a different person. That is my experience anyway. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
We are moving on to other questions. I'll read 2 questions from the chat box and ND can then ask a question. So a lot of questions have been coming in about programming language. So just so you can clear the air on it. So I'll repeat, this question might seem repetitive, but I will just say it so that you can address it in one go. So it said, what programming language should a DevOps know? And how advanced should one be in programming? That's one question. Another question similar to it says, what are the required programming language for DevOps? Is this job highly in demand? And the third related question says, what is the difference between script and code? So I want to throw all of them out there and then you address it once and for all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Oyi. Yeah, so number one is that, you know, when you talk about script is not a full-blown programming language. They don't do a lot of logic. They are just like straightforward stuff. Like, okay, if my hand, I can say my hand is maybe is 2. And I can see Dr. Oyi's hand is 5. And whenever I go down there, I can say, okay, Dr. Oyi. And I know that it's okay. When I call Dr. Oyi will become 5, right? So for instance, let me look, just to put it on a plain, note, you don't need to be a developer or a programmer to be a DevOps person. All you need is a commitment to some new way of doing things. Because now, I don't want to sound like, but I have to tell you, it's just a commitment to a new way of doing things. For instance, when we're doing, AWS cloud class here, we went through it. We look at the whole thing, the good thing. And it's very lovely, but we can always make it better. That is what DevOps is all about. It doesn't force anything on you. So for the programming, I will say no. If you look at what I did in that side, it's not, by the time we start the class and we started doing this, most of the things that you think is big, it's not big, it's because you have not done it before. That lab you were looking at, it was almost 30 minutes to the class that I was trying to hook them together. I was like, if it doesn't come up within maybe that short period, I will tell Mr. Osita that, okay, don't laugh. But it came up because they are just simple things. But the only reason you are saying that is because you have not maybe be part of like, okay, how do we do it? Like, okay, this is first step, just normal typing. Type this, type that. Tomorrow when you see it, you even know that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And the good thing about it is that this is now, and this is the future. So that is that. Then if that clears the fact that it's okay, you don't need a programming language. Now the scripting and code. Okay, people will tell you coding. Yeah, scripting. I've said it. Scripting is not the same thing as like coding, coding, recoding. Scripting is just like, okay. I don't know whether some of us have done, I've used Linux before, like Linux operating system or whatever. You see that it's very, these are the places where it comes from, like how we do some stuff. Okay, what of Windows? Look at Windows. Windows. Okay, let's look at Windows. Dr. Have you ever tried to open your, control panel on Windows before?
Yes.
Okay. There's a place you click to get to that place, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you know there's a command you can pass on Windows on your bash script? You can just pass that command and your your control panel will come out.
Yes.
Okay. There are commands you can just pass on your Windows 10 or Windows 11 that your firewall windows will just pop up. Now, these are the internal functions, things that come with Windows, but you can either do it the GUI way or you can do it the command line way. The commands are there. It's just for you to just know that, okay, this command is for this. When I type this, I will get this. When I type this, I will get this. That is not the same thing as programming, because you are not doing any logic. All you are just doing is that you are just using inbuilt functionalities that are not GUI, but you have to be aware that it exists and this is how to use them. And what you do in classes like this is to learn the list of those functionalities and how and where to use them. So it's not programming. If you see if you see the reprogramming, you will know that this is programming.
Thank you so much. So you've allayed the fears of people to say that these things are not difficult because we are not exposed to them yet. And that goes with a saying that I've heard over and over again, that there is no mountain anywhere. Every man's mountain is his ignorance. So we are here to demystify that mountain, as it were. Okay, so Andy, please go ahead and ask your question. You can unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Osita and the BlackTECH crew for this opportunity. You guys are doing amazing. And for Mr. John, thank you for simplifying DevOps. So my question is, sometime back, I researched on DevOps. I was trying to decide between DevOps and cybersecurity, which one to go. Okay. And in looking at DevOps, I came across a word, DevSecOps. And today you mentioned security as part of DevOps. So can you explain more about that DevSecOps for me?
Okay, thank you, man. So, we try to, like one of the reasons why we are here at BlackTECH is to make these things simple and create an entry point that will not make people feel like it's impossible. Now, but let me to answer your question. In security, I want to explain something to you. In those days, let me say traditional security. When you get to work, maybe you are an analyst, you do most of triage. I know to security expert in the house, you do more of triage, like, okay, the alert or this there comes in, you know how to analyze it and you know where to send it to and stuff like that. As security analyst, that is what you do. When you move away from being a security analyst, or maybe you are more or less like administrator or engineer, you are more like you are part of people that are creating this solution. There was a time you were just sitting in front of a very good UI that you are just responding to. But at a point now, you move up your career and you'll be like, okay, you are part of the people that are designing and implementing the solutions that those analysts are looking up to and they are using for their triage, for their security triage. Now, at a point, you move up to architect, where you are more or less like the core guy that come together and design the security from ground up. Can you see the interfaces now? Now, this is what we do traditionally. At the end of the day, it comes down to maybe like, okay, you are configuring firewalls, you are making sure you put in what firewalls and appliances, IDS, you are putting them in place. In network level, application level, you are doing penetration testing, you are testing with Bob suit, you are doing, ZAP testing, you are doing all those kind of things. I have been there. But all of a sudden, I just find myself in an environment that says you don't configure firewall by going through GUI. Does that make sense to you, man?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you don't do IDS, like intrusion detection system, by going through, interfaces. You don't do penetration testing by, testing with these traditional tools. They want it automated because the pipeline in DevOps, the pipeline for development and delivery, they are code based. They are all code. They are in code. So, and we don't want to wait till these codes are released to production and they become a GUI that everybody can see before we catch the security flaws in this code. So what we need to do now, we need to begin to think like developers and operations, like DevOps people. So that is why you see that most security jobs these days now, they are coming to say, we want somebody who have a very good knowledge of DevOps. And because security is shifting left, then it makes security to sit in between development and operation. That shows that we want you to do everything you can do to ensure that you catch the flaws, the bugs, the security, stuff you have before that code or that solution is shipped for production. So that is why you see that term like DevSecOps. So it's development, security, and operation. So for any guy to say, okay, I want to be a DevSecOps guy, you should be able to have foundational knowledge of at least DevOps. So that is how it works. People that are still working in traditional environment, they might have this opportunity like, okay, I can be my traditional security guy. But for some of us that we are not really fortunate on that, we find ourselves in a place whereby we have to do security in a DevOps way. And DevOps way is that you have to embed it within the pipelines. Does that answer the question, man?
Perfectly, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I take success question, I want you to quickly answer this one. Someone says, what's the difference between DevOps and Azure DevOps?
Okay, good. Thank you. That is a very good question. You see, what Microsoft does with Azure DevOps is that Microsoft build a DevOps, like a kind of a DevOps solution for their own environment. That shows that they put a build server, a delivery server, a code base. They put everything together in a solution and call it Azure DevOps. That shows that when you implement Azure DevOps, the pipelines for development, the pipeline for release, for delivery, they are all in that. So the whole idea here is that DevOps is like a kind of like a traditional, let me say, technology, like a traditional technology. But Azure DevOps is a tool built by Microsoft after Azure principles, patterns, and tools, but for Microsoft solution alone. But that does not mean that if you so the good thing is that if you understand Azure principles and tools very well, the same thing is carried over to Azure. And if you understand Azure DevOps very well, you have a very good knowledge of normal DevOps. So that is the way it works. So Azure is more or less like a tool, Microsoft tools that implement Azure practices. While DevOps itself, that implement DevOps practices. Why DevOps itself is like, okay, you want to put the tools together yourself, not Microsoft. Some can be open source, some can be enterprise, some you just put them together. Tools. We have classes of tools. Some code base, some code repositories, some SCM, some delivery server, some build server, all this kind of thing. So you can put them together. Each one you think is good for your environment and good for your business, and make a DevOps workflow out of it. But Microsoft have done that by putting that together so that they can make life more granular and streamlined for their customers.
So it's like Microsoft developed a one-stop shop for DevOps operations.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Success, please go ahead and ask your question. Unmute yourself, please. Success.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my question is, with this DevOps, I'm trying to understand between, because when we started this this whole program, we did, I think the second class was on Amazon Web Server, AWS.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now I saw that when you were doing your illustration a few minutes ago, you had to use Amazon Web Server. So I want to know, like, what's the difference between DevOps and Amazon Server? Are they intertwined? Are they is it same thing? And I just want to know the difference between both of them.
Okay, good question. Why AWS cloud platform do a lot of things, but AWS is one of the components of a DevOps organization. When I started, I told you that I made mention of something like DevOps requires tools. Like, okay, we can have two tools that you can use to achieve this process, this philosophy. So AWS or other cloud providers can be used. The same code I run against AWS environment, I can run the same code against Google Cloud. I can run the same code against Azure. I can run the same code against DigitalOcean. The only thing that will change is the API provider. That is all I will change. But the code remains. So what I will say to answer that question in one word is that cloud service providers, they are one of the tools we use in our DevOps organization. Does that answer that question?
Yes. That answers the question. I don't know if I can ask a quick one again. So okay. When we were taking this class a few minutes ago, just now, I had to quickly go on Indeed and check DevOps and the job opportunities, because I, for one, I'm still trying to see what the domain I'm going into, if it's AWS or this DevOps, because both of them is one of the courses I think that I really have interest in. So I went there, I saw that most of their requirements on Indeed, and this is Indeed Canada, most of them are saying that you must have a bachelor's degree in computer science. So I really don't know what the job, being that you are in the field already, I really don't know what the job out there looks like. If really people it's a demanding, if the DevOps certification is on high demand, like
yeah, I get your question.
The job is a high demanding job, and people, recruiters are looking for those that they can hire.
Okay, I get that question. Good one. What I want to tell you is that I think it's a skill that is high in demand. Do you know why? Let me just give you why. But before I say that, I will tell you that, in fact, I'm surprised by saying that job requirement in Canada is asking for bachelor degree. I don't know. It's not something that has come to my table often, or maybe somebody has. Most of even my resume, most of the time, it doesn't carry my bachelor degree or my master. It doesn't carry it. I just put up my resume and it comes back like, okay, good and that. So that you might want to check. It's not a general thing in Canada that organization will be asking for bachelor degree. I'm not sure, but it's not my experience. It's not. Then talking about like, okay, how is this thing, like, how do we have the job? It's a good job. Let me tell you one thing. If I want to do a lazy job, I will have opted for security role at BlackTECH. You know something? If I want to like do a easy job, like, okay, I will have say, oh, Mr. Osita, let me take security. I know we have Chinedu, but I would rather maybe say I should help Chinedu and let's do it together. But what I'm seeing in DevOps is like, is now and the future. Is now and the future. So because every network guy, at a point, they will pull the trigger that they have to what? Digitalize their operation. Every server guy, now they are digitalizing their operation. Development doesn't want to stand and be asking that, okay, provision resources for me before I deploy. They want somebody on every side. Security guy, they don't want us to stand and say, okay, let me test and I will give you feedback. No. They want my security to be embedded within the development and operation pipeline, so that as the code is being pushed upstream, it can check the code and see, okay, this code is good enough to go. If it's not good, don't pass. The developer wants to develop, maybe wake up in the night and develop it in his house and push it upstream. Push it upstream. He doesn't want somebody to say, okay, because the security guy is not available, then we cannot do this. So that is why DevOps is kind of very core to every technical IT skill set these days. Then for people that are not technical, it is very important for them to have at least theoretical knowledge. Because the time will come that if you're a business analyst, if you cannot speak the language of this organization, it becomes very difficult for you to collect the right requirement and build business cases or POC for them. Does that make sense? Like, try to make sense of some other things. So I believe that for all these things, do your research more. I have interviewed people. I don't ask for maybe degree. In fact, my boss is somebody that he doesn't even care. He doesn't care whether you go to school or you don't go to school. As the only thing is that, can he, culture, is he fit? Fine, he's fit. Then technical, what does he have? Okay, no really tools, don't. He will tell me, don't judge people based on tools. Because the tools can change tomorrow. The tools change every day. But if the person have the right mindset, it's an asset. The tools change every day. I know a lot of things I learned maybe, late 2000, maybe early 2000, and today they are no more useful at all. They are not even useful. But the only thing we do is that we reinvent ourselves, we learn, we iterate, we keep moving. And not because, so I think it's very, very important that we look it beyond that. Yeah. I don't know whether that answered the question, but I hope so.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. You've done justice to why we are here. Questions are being asked and you seem to be answering, giving it back to them on point. So we are grateful for that. 2 questions again I'll put together because they're addressing fundamentals, and then I'll go ahead and ask those whose answer I raised to ask their question.
Okay.
One says that, what are the cloud fundamentals needed in DevOps admin/engineering 1? And the other says, what are the foundational IT skills?
Okay, for cloud is your normal AWS practitioner certification. Like, if you can just follow, when we say certification, we just want to like give it a round peg. Like, okay, if you follow the modules, like the training outline on AWS certified practitioners, that will get you up to that. That will get you up to that. And for the other question, like, what do we need, like IT fundamentals, it's just for you to know how system works, and most importantly is commands. Like, okay, if I want to copy file from one location or the other on Unix environment, we use CP, copy. If I want to change file permission, I want to change a file to like maybe to executable file, I can just use chmod A plus X. And that is, these are the fundamental things. They are very, very, very fundamental. But it becomes so big to people because there is nobody who has sit them down and just tell them, this is just it. Even like play, just if you want to, do you want to change this to this only? Yes, okay, just change it. There are things you do most of the time in your Windows environment now. But by the time you begin to see the way it's being, the real command that is going on at the back end, they are not long command. They are not long. They are just maybe 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, 5 words, and maximum, maybe 5 words. So those are the fundamental things that we just rush through maybe in a class, maybe half of a class, and you are good. It's just for you to, like, okay, it makes life easier for you. When we're doing this thing, we could, I told Mr. I said, let's just do it in such a way that people can easily, walk into it. We can as well not cover those fundamental things and just go to but it will be difficult for some people. That is why if you have at least something, okay, background in IT or tech, you don't need to do the DevOps 1. You can just easily move to what? To DevOps 2 and do that. But for people that's okay, I want to get myself, up, I want to do this thing, then it should be okay for you to just do DevOps 1, then you move up and you do DevOps 2. It's just to give an entry point for people that they don't have that, they don't have that that serious, tech background, and they still want to enter into it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So Joanne, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Joanne? Joanne, if there is any difficulty, can you drop it in the chat box if you're unable to unmute yourself? Or I would allow Temi ask her question and they will come back to you. Okay. Temi, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Please drop any blockers in the chat box so that we know what the issue is. Okay, Temi, go ahead. Temi, if you are speaking, we can't hear you. Can you hear us? Okay, I think she's
Yeah, she might probably be having a network issue. Joanne, can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Okay, Temi, go ahead.
All right. Sorry, I think I was doing it wrong. Firstly, I actually want to appreciate Mr. John for this
Hello,
insight.
sorry, I don't know.
Joanne, please, after Temi, please. We had to
Okay.
take Temi when you were incoming. Thank you.
Yeah, he has done a lot of justice to this DevOps thing. But I asked one question the first time. I was like, do we need some programming language for this DevOps? And he said no. But if I could remember when he was trying to explain, he has said a lot of programming jargons, right? Like a lot of executable codes, a lot of things that it made me like, man, he said there's no programming, but this man is talking about programming. That's on a lighter note. And the second question is, I asked that, is this DevOps, is it highly in demand?
Yeah, Mr. Temi, thank you for those questions. I will say it over and over again. Like, I'm not, the good thing about this is that we are in a community of common, we have a goal, like helping our own people. So what we are doing is we are encouraging us to do what we think is good for ourselves. I know it might require that we put in some energy, But the good thing is that it will yield the result. And the result is this. But for programming, this is not programming. But for somebody that think that, okay, is kind of big, anytime they see code, they feel like, oh, it's going to be difficult. No. Coding is not, writing, I don't know. Okay, let me go back. Let me just do something. We normally talk about like some scripting language, like English-like scripting languages, like JSON or whatever. They are like English, like, okay, this is this, this is that. But the only thing that makes it different is that sometimes when we type this thing on black screen, people think like it's difficult. No. Maybe I could have changed my screen to white the other time. So Mr. Temi, it's not programming, and it's something that is very, very, somebody says pseudocode, okay? So it's something that is very, very low level. It's something that is very, very low level. So don't worry about that. I give you an assurance that we'll take you through it, that even within a short time, you begin to do things on yourself. You will be thinking like, wow, so I can do this. And you see, and the good thing about it is that when you write this English-like code or script, you will see the result. You will be happy and you can relate with it. So that is that. And for jobs, I tell people, the jobs are there. Go and do your research. If you are in the US, go to dice.com. If you are in Canada, look at Glassdoor, look at Indeed, look at ZipRecruiter, go look at Google, look at AWS, career pages. These are the places you look at. So look at all these places, because for me, I love it big. I love it big. I just want to wear my impact, and my impact will be fed, and I can do something that gets me thinking every day. And I want to be part of something big that really affects, positively the society and the community I live in. So you can look at all these things. Look at Cisco. These are skills. These are modern skills that organizations and managers are going after. Like I was talking to our recruiter one time, I think last month. She was telling me, like, I asked, how do you get these people? He said, I hunt for them. He said, I hunt everywhere. And if I see something that is close to what you are looking for, I talk to them. I talk to them. I call them. Look at the possibility, like, okay, if they want to, maybe they are look out for new thing or stuff like that. And when those people look at, the culture and the organization and stuff like that, they feel like, okay, let me hear it. Let's see. They come for interview. Some of them did greatly, in the interview. But we even offer them, and they will tell you that, okay, maybe somehow they reject the offer. There is nothing as good as somebody rejecting offer. I can tell you, like, you have offers that you can reject some. I love that thing. But it's the truth. If you have like 2 or 3 offers and you just look at, okay, which one I should go for, because this give me that, I want to go for this. So I believe that the opportunities are there, and it's better you are there before the market is what?
Saturated.
Yes, saturated. That is one thing I do in my life. I make sure I'm there before the market gets saturated. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. John. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Tini.
Thank you. So, the black screen is a turn off. All this is black screen and some if and why, and people get turned off.
We would do if and why. In this kind of scenario, we don't do anything that has to do with if and why. Anything logic, we are not doing it. It's just equals to this one is equals to this. It's just like defining, okay, good. This is the right word. It's just like defining things. Oh, this is equals to this. This is equals to this. That is all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Equals to and yes and no. I saw
yes and no, yeah.
Yes and no. Okay, Joanne, please go ahead and ask your question now.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So my questions are, thank you for this forum. My question is, I see that the courses are broken into 2 levels. Are they going to run concurrently, or are they going to be one after the other? That's number one. Then the second one I wanted to find out is, what's the duration for this admin 1 and the DevOps admin 2? What's the duration, as in, if somebody says, okay, I want to take only at DevOps 2, how long is it going to take? Is the course going to take? If you say, okay, I want to take only 1, how long would that take? So I'd like to know, and what is it free? That would be great.
Dr. Oye.
Okay, so let me take that. Can you hear me?
Take it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me appreciate Mr. John once more. John, you've done a great job tonight. One of the things for sure that we are trying as much as possible to do is to get our people to have as much information as possible. There are so many areas in tech, so many areas. One of the popular, or I would say the most popular areas that most Nigerians tend to try to pivot is business analysis. Nothing stop BlackTECH from just focusing on business analysis, but if we do that, that would be a disservice, to the Black community, to the Black professionals that we are trying to support. John, I've got many years of experience in tech, over 20 years. Same with myself. We have seen things. We've seen possibilities. We've seen people earning top dollars in so many other domains in the tech space. And that really is part of what we are trying to accomplish through TRiTECH, to bring all this information, possibilities to the front burner, so that members, especially of the Black community, will begin to realize that there are so many, because the truth is that what you don't know, you don't know. That's the truth. When you don't even know that something exists, then you can't even talk about building career along those lines. But what we are doing is to demystify these things, bring all these things to the front burner, and you can begin to see a lot of possibilities. Based on that, you can now begin to make a choice. There are so many areas in tech, but we have chosen 15 domains that are in top demands. For those that were asking the question about, is DevOps in high demand or this, I will share my screen shortly to show you LinkedIn jobs asking for DevOps engineers. LinkedIn, and you'll be seeing 2 applications, some of them no application, some probably 10. It is in high demand. Yeah. And just like what John said, that is the way to go. Yeah. Sometimes it's good, right, to go where people are, where there is a crowd and stuff like. But if you want to earn top dollars, it's good to focus on those areas where the talent, the talent supply is low. Yeah. That is it. It's about demand and supply. Employers are willing to pay top dollars because the talent supply is very, very low. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what it is. And if you want to earn top dollars, it also is a mindset thing, just like John have been talking about. You must be willing, okay? You must be willing to kind of, shift ground a little bit in terms of where you are now. You might be in your comfort zone, but nothing grows in a comfort zone. Nothing grows there. You want growth, you must witness discomfort for growth to happen. Without discomfort, growth cannot happen. Success and comfort, they do not cohabit. Success and comfort. There must be discomfort for that growth to happen. So try as much as possible to make sure you are picking, all these things that we are talking about. These have been well researched in terms of the program, in terms of the content, the value that we are bringing on board is something that is phenomenal. Irrespective that TRiTECH is free, let's not take it for granted. Because trust me, this is gold mine in terms of the information that is actually coming to you guys from January 12th, and we're going to continue all the way to February 12th. Okay. Then in terms of the program that John talked about for BlackTECH, the DevOps program, the curriculum and everything on DevOps is currently actually in development phase. If you look at BlackTECH website, you see that we have got a list of 8 programs today that registration have started. From business analysis to cybersecurity to data analytics to AWS cloud computing. It took months. All those things didn't happen within just a week. Since 2021, months of research, months of comparative analysis to be sure, and also survey as well, to be sure of what will be most valuable and impactful for the Black ecosystem. Many people do trainings. There's no project experience. They finish the training here, they cannot apply for jobs. One of the gaps that we have embedded in all our program is to make sure that all the program have training, what we call project, capstone project components. So you have the theory, the practical, and the project. That helps you to develop the hands-on capability to be job ready once you are done with the program. Another thing we have embedded is resume review and mock interview preparations as well, and ongoing support. It's not enough to be trained. You also need support along the way. All these things have been embedded together. So in terms of the duration, in terms of the cost, in terms of the timeline, all those will be communicated in the next week or two. We don't have all that fleshed up yet, but one thing we have established is that there's going to be DevOps 1 and DevOps 2. DevOps 1 for entry-level guys. After that, you can even apply for a job, for junior DevOps, engineer, and get that. For the guys that want to move into more advanced stuff, then of course you have the DevOps 2. That is like the industry standard. And we are building on top of that with the other components and other things we are adding to make it superb and rich. So in the next 1 week or two, you will get obviously an email communicating registration for the DevOps program. What you can do right now is to send email to info@blacktechhub.org, just indicating interest. So that once that email goes out, the team will make sure that you are also, sent an email specifically so that you will know exactly when that particular registration opens up. But for now, try as much as possible to have an open mind and see possibilities from what John has been talking about. Let me share my screen briefly. Dr. Oye, I'm not sure. Do we still have any other questions?
We don't have any other questions again, so you can go ahead, Osita.
Okay, that is fine. So just briefly, I was just looking at LinkedIn jobs here. 1 second. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
It's coming up.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now there are jobs that when you check on LinkedIn job, or you go to Indeed, you will see 100 and something people, 200 and something applications. A job is posted and 200 and something have applied. But that is not the case for with DevOps. Look at this. This was posted when? 6 days ago. Only how many? 16 applicants. 16, 6 days, almost a week. Only 16 people. Let's look at this other one. This is 2 weeks, only 49 applicants in 2 weeks. If some other jobs, there are some you'll be seeing 200 and something, 300 and something in 2 weeks. Okay, keep going. Look at this one, 1 week. And how many do you have? 5. Can you imagine that? 5 applicants in 1 week. 3 weeks. How many applicants? 9. Look at this again. 2 weeks, 5 applicants. Look at this again. 3 weeks, how many? 12 applicants. DevOps engineers. This one's for 14 hours. Then it has a bit of 49 people. But look at it. None of them have, look at 4 applicants. Look at this one, 4, 9. None. Look at 2 applicants. 2, just 2 people. Can you imagine? 2 days, 2 applicants. Look at this. So if you look at all these are how to research so that you'll be able to, on your own, what we are doing here, we are trying to bring all this into your perspective. But at the end of the day, the decision and the call is yours to make. And that's what we are doing. So it's not like, somebody is saying, or like one of the ladies that, went to one of the colleges to do software engineering. After 4 months, she had to pull out. When we were discussing, I was like, madam, so didn't you know? She said, oh, one of my friends just told me about software engineering. That is a good area in tech. And that was why I registered for it in one of the colleges for 1-year program. And after 4 months, I couldn't cope. I said, why? He said, oh, because I discovered it's more about coding. I said, so what do you think software engineering is in the first place? She said, my friend didn't tell me. Oh, can you imagine? So you want to commit all your career, your career plan, which of course by your extension, your life, right? Because your career is your life, really. You want to just commit it in the hands of a friend? That is why it's good to make independent review, independent research. At the end of the day, you are the only one that will take that decision. This is what I want to do. But the onus lies in us to bring about those information that will make you, or that will allow you to make the informed decision. Okay? So if you're asking about, is this job in demand? Is this what? Before we started this session, a guy in the community reached out to me to say, wow, please, anytime you guys are starting DevOps, I want to get in there. I said, why? He said, one of my friends did a couple of courses, no job. The guy did DevOps. After 2 weeks, he got a job. I laughed. I said, great, that is fine. But again, that shouldn't be the yardstick for you. It shouldn't be that because your friend did DevOps and got job after 2 weeks, that is why you want to do DevOps. It might be great, but that might not be. The first thing you need to look at is the domain. What are the requirements, the skill set, okay, to pivot into that domain? Is this the kind of thing that you want to do career-wise? Forget about the money. Everything we are bringing up to you guys here, they are all top demand tech careers. All. None of them is paying 60K, 70K. They are all top. So you look at skill sets, look at your own person as an individual, tell yourself the truth. Am I ready for this challenge? Whichever domain you want to pivot into. There must be discomfort. I've said it before. That is the truth. Even if it's business analysis that you want to do, there must be discomfort because you are learning new things. That is the way it is. Let me stop here, guys, but I can tell you guys that DevOps is in top demand. It's one of those areas today that organizations are looking for. One of those top domains right now. When you talk about startups, you talk about technology organization and companies. Because these days, organizations are all about automation. Automation. Companies want to, stop repetitive processes. And one of the ways of doing that is automation. And DevOps engineers play key and pivotal role in making that happen. So you can't go wrong with it, in addition to every other things that we've talked about. So don't take money to be the yardstick. Look at the domain. That's why everything, you can see the presentation from the beginning, since January the 12th, everything has been structured. Each faculty is coming to talk about what is this domain all about? What are the skill sets required to succeed? What about in terms of salary? Because of course, we know the money is also key as well. In fact, very key. That is also mentioned and explained. What are the subdomains or the different areas? Oh, what about certifications? Oh, what about a day in the life of an individual in that role? Everything has been structured along those lines. Great planning was embedded into this TRiTECH. So it's not like a program we just wake up one day and just start delivering. No, months of planning to make sure that this is impactful. And we are happy that, it's really living up to the expectation. Thank you so very much, Mr. John. Great presentation tonight. It's been incredible. It's been incredible. I personally, you know, when I saw the way you broke things down, I was like, wow, this is excellent. Because the truth of the matter is that when you have a domain that probably is kind of new to our audience like this, the best way to go about it is to, you know, take it from the very basic. And that is really what you did tonight. You know, really appreciate you for that. Great presentation. Great presentation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
So
before I go, there's a question I want to ask. Sorry. So this person that asked that is DevOps a good route to cybersecurity? Before I leave, we encourage that have some, you know, fundamental knowledge with, you know, cybersecurity, like maybe analyst or whatever you like, do something. Then it will help you to understand how you can metamorphose that to DevOps practices. So I would say you should have some basic, you know, level of, you know, cybersecurity before you pivot into DevOps. We encourage that.
Yeah, great response. Great response. Excellent. Dr. Oye, do we have no more hands up, right? I think we are good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we are, for sure, we can actually take back the remaining 30 minutes back to everybody's calendar, you know, so everybody can use that for some other important things, right? I'm not sure, guys. Any other question from anyone? Feel free to raise up your hand if you've got any question. It could be in respect to this session or something else entirely. You know, I've got like 5 minutes. If there's any other questions in 5 minutes. Any questions? Okay, Mr. John, thank you so very much. Just like I mentioned, feel free to exit if you want to exit at this point. You know, we are bringing the program to, you know, to a wrap at this time.
Andy has a question. Sorry for cutting in. Andy has a hand raised up.
Oh, okay.
And they are beginning to raise their hands now. So look through the screen and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, go for it.
Okay, just my question is for those of us that registered for the cybersecurity program. I think it's starting on Saturday, but we haven't heard any details yet. When are we expecting to get details?
Yeah, so that will be sent to you tonight, okay? The program manager has already worked on the program outline. Everything is ready. You guys will get it tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Again, there's not too much rush from the program team because there's no installation for you guys to do. Most of the labs are going to be from AWS, so it's pretty going to be straightforward for the labs. Okay, so expect the communication by tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Edozie. Okay, so I think we probably are having more questions that are not really within the topic of today. So let's end the recording at this time.